All right, so as normal, we should always start with the very generic, the largest parent, and then narrow in on exactly what we want. So I'm going to take you guys step by step through this process of dealing with the HTML table in Selenium WebDriver. So the very first thing to do is to store the table, the whole table, inside of an element. And luckily, our table has an ID, right? It is right here, table with an ID, HTML table ID. So all you have to do is use the by.id with HTML table ID, and then store that inside of a table variable. So let's do a run up to here. Already had a test running, that's why it was complaining. So what you guys don't see is on my other screen, Chrome is coming up, and within a few seconds the page should load. And now we are here. I'm going to step over this, usually using F10, but because I have a screen capture software, that's going to stop my screen capture software. So instead I use these buttons on top, F10, which is pretty annoying to me because you guys know I love shortcuts, but it's what I have to do. Anyway, so now you can see that inside of this table variable, we have a HTML table. And so you can see the tag name, you can see actually the text, which is basically all of the table data and headers separated by new line characters and spaces. And that is our table living in a single element. Okay, and we got it with an ID, which is nice. If a table does not have an ID like this one, that's a different story, and we'll deal with that after. So let's bring this back up here. You can take it and drag it. I want to drag it over here. And now the next step would be, once we have the table, we want to get a collection of all the rows inside of the table. Can anybody think of how we do that? To get a collection of all the rows inside of the table. Well, we have our table, right? Missed a single quote. We got our table, right? And now we just need to dig in to get its rows. Inside of that, there's also a table body, right? What is that going to select me? Excellent. And inside of the table body, we have the table rows. So what if I do this? Boom. It selects every single table row. You guys see how that worked? I did not care about the tag. I used the ID of the table to get me down to the right table. Then I went inside of that to get to the body, and then I went inside of that to get to the table row. We can probably even eliminate this, and you do something like that to get all the table rows. But I think it's a little bit more clear for you guys if I do this. Same thing, but this is obviously a little bit cleaner. The other one is a little bit easier to understand. So if I uncomment this line over here, right, since we have 4 rows, we have to store them in a list rather than a single variable like we do here. In just the iWeb element is here, right? This find element, F12 it, find element, you guys see return type, iWeb element, right? And then find elements is going to return us all of the rows into a list, right? If I F12 to find elements, it returns a read-only collection of iWeb element. You guys see that? So when we want a collection of objects like we do here to get all of the rows, you use find elements and store that in a list, just like we did before with the radio buttons, because there are multiple radio buttons living inside of a single form. We got that form and then we took all the buttons from it. In the table, we can do the exact same thing. We get the table and we take whatever content we want from it and store it in a list of iWeb elements.